Dr. Rhona Epstein is a licensed psychologist, a certified addictions counselor, and a marriage and family therapist. She's been helping people overcome addiction and eating disorders for almost 30 years. Dr. Rhona joins us today to talk about her timely release food triggers, end your cravings, eat well, and live better. Welcome to the Harvest Show, Dr. Rhona.
Thank you.
Okay, so I said your timely release because, as you can smell,
That's true.
I was about to say Dr. Randy Z. Well, he is the chief physician, the chief, I should say, chef of the Harvest Show. And he's here, and of course we're going to be cooking. But you're talking about, and I just feel like this is the perfect time to have you, you're talking about food triggers because so many people they are currently experiencing this. You say more than 70-something% of Americans are, I guess, overweight, and 36% are obese. But you too had your own food struggle. Tell us about your backstory.
Well, actually, I probably came out of the womb looking for ice cream.
Okay.
If that's possible. And so I really had a preoccupation with sweets when I was little. So if you could be wired for wanting to overeat, I probably was wired. And over the years of my life, it became something that, like a little kid sneaking off and having an extra cookie, to a preoccupation, to something that was an out of control problem that almost destroyed me.
Okay, so Dr. Rhona, most people that I hear talk about their addiction to having a certain food craving is usually connected to something emotional, but you said you came out of the womb wanting ice cream. So, I mean, what is the chemistry of a food trigger or food triggers? Because there are multiple ones.
There are multiple ones. And so some can be physical. I believe that some people are more prone, just like alcoholics. Some people, you know, when people are young and they are trying alcohol, some end up alcoholics and some can drink a glass of wine and not have a problem with it. It's the same thing with sugar and refined carbohydrates. Some people can take it or leave it, and other people, once they start to have it, they have to have more. And so there can be a physiological issue here, which they're finding now. In the last 10 years, there's been a lot of research that is suggesting that people can be prone and towards addictive behavior with food, and that it's physical. But there's also emotional things as well. When you feel down, food can be a comfort. We call it comfort food. We all know what it feels like to want a little comfort from food. But for some people, that will turn into an obsession and something that can cause a person to be destroyed.
Is it always sugar, or can there be other food triggers?
Right, it's not always sugar. For me, sugar was my drug of choice, if you want to say. But yes, I think that people get addicted to fatty foods, salty foods, crunchy, salty. Everybody can be different about what they eat. So sugar, I think, is the one that had the most research, that they're really seeing in the brain similarities to alcohol and other substances that you can actually, in the studies that they've done, it's been mostly on sugar. But in fact, with my clients, you'll see people addicted to all kinds of foods.
Okay, so Dr. Rhona, what are some of the telltale signs? I told you, before we came on the air that I noticed that I was like, I wouldn't even be hungry, and then this thought of cake would come to my mind and I would act on it, and then when I saw how many calories, I was consuming, I stopped. But what are some of the telltale signs, whether it's emotional or physical? What are some of those signs?
Signs that you have a problem?
Yes, that there's a trigger there.
Well, I think what you're saying, when you start to notice that you're getting out of control, and you keep saying, I'm going to stop, and then you don't. I mean, a healthy person, if they feel like they're getting out of control, pull in the reins, back off, they're able to do that. When a person tries to do that, like myself, every day I used to say, okay, today I'm going to do my diet. And I come up with a diet, and I'm going to do it. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'm going to start. And the morning would pass, and maybe I would get to lunchtime, and then the food thoughts would start coming. The end of the day comes, at the end of school, I would go home, and that's it, the beginning of the end of my diet every day. And so then there's this feeling of failure, and it becomes devastating. So people who lose control on a regular basis, who then become ashamed, they start to hide and sneak, and they feel like a failure, And this goes on every day. And of course, then if you do gain weight, and then there could be a lot of bad feelings about your body and wanting to hide, and then maybe even reducing social involvement and feeling like ashamed in other areas of your life. So it starts to become, it affects relationships, sex, social involvement. So I have clients who won't do activities with their families because they feel so physically shut down from either the binges that they're having or from the weight. And so that's sort of the signs. I mean, I can go on, but.
Okay, so those are the signs. How do we go about stopping? How do you, what's the first step in removing it? Because it would seem on the outside, okay, if you have a problem with salty food, say, don't buy salty food. As somebody who likes salty food, I find that very difficult to do. So what's the first step that you offer to your clients?
Well, admitting that you have a problem. If you are starting to have negative consequences like the ones I've described, where it's starting to ruin your life, like I couldn't even concentrate. Food thoughts were coming into my head all day long. I was either thinking about food or how ugly that I felt. And that went on all day long. If that's going on, you've got to really ask yourself, how important is it for me to have this food? If it's causing that much damage, you really have to challenge. Like, I want this salty food, but it's ruining my life.
Right.
It's the same thing with an alcoholic who ends up getting drunk and goes into blackouts. They have to admit, I have a problem. And for some people, they can't have a drink, and they just have to face that, and it's a grievous process. My clients, when they face that they have a food addiction, they write letters. I have them write letters to their addictions as they're moving along in their treatment. And it's like saying goodbye to your best friend. But you have to admit, before you're going to change, I have a problem, and you have to start to be willing to challenge. Is it worth it for me to have this sweet or this crunchy food if it's causing that much problem? If it's not, if you want to be free and you want to have victory over these problems, then it's time to admit and then maybe ask for help.
Well, Dr. Rhona, I mean, let's talk about the emotional triggers. When I feel down or something's wrong with me, I lose my appetite. I can't eat. Whereas other people, based on their mood, they start to eat.
Right.
That seems a little more difficult than Chuck denying himself a bag of pretzels,
Yes.
something salty. How would a person jumpstart that process of turning away? Seems like they would need your help.
I think so. That's where
Okay.
either my help or some other counselors' help, or recovery groups. There's lots of support groups out there that are even free. But yes, that's where it really gets tricky, because when eating problems start in early years, and a lot of my clients started overeating when they were 5 or 6, and so they've always used food to cope. And now they're grown-ups, and they really don't know how to cope without turning to food. That's really been their go-to thing. And so if you're going to take that away and agree that you're going to eat food in moderation, and now I'm not going to use food as a drug, I'm going to now need to learn, all of a sudden, this grown person no longer has their blankie, so to speak, their thing that's been giving them comfort. What do I do? And now we have to learn, and feelings can be overwhelming if you're not using your numbing agent, because food numbs the pain of life. I mean, you're stressed out, it does numb. It's an escape. So now if you don't have that escape, you have to learn, and that's where a good counselor comes in to help you learn how to handle fear or anxiety or stress or boredom or heartache.
What role does somebody's faith play in recovering from something like this?
Well, in my opinion, it's the most important thing, because trying to do this without faith is like just doing another diet on your own. And then most of the people who are struggling with not being able to keep a diet or don't have the right power source to make it work. And I feel like without God, we can do all things in Him who strengthens us. And so faith, and I think too, in some ways, not everybody likes this kind of a powerful point that I'm making here, I think, that we are turning to food instead of God. And He's what we needed anyway. We're turning to the cupboards, opening up the doors, looking for comfort, when we have the God of all comfort to turn to, who wants to calm our nerves. He wants to give us the peace that we long for and are looking for in the refrigerator. And so he is the answer. It's his love, it's our connection with him, it's our relationship with him that provides the food that we really are hungry for.
Well, you say that, first of all, I think I agree with you. That is a powerful statement. Your subtitle says, end your cravings, eat well, and live better. So it's not just enough to stop, but you need to replace it. Like now I eat raspberries instead of the chocolate cake all the time, or blueberries or something like that. And I'm trying to eat healthy. So you're saying that basically, is that the process where you stop, you wean yourself off of those unhealthy things, and you eat healthy food?
Yes, it's very important. One of the problems we have in our culture is that everybody's going on quick weight loss diets. In the program that we recommend, people eat really healthy and not be in a hurry to lose weight, because we're trying to make a lifestyle change. And people who tend to overeat will restrict, and then they'll binge because they restricted. So we really encourage a really hearty whole foods approach, where you're really making sure that what you eat is nourishing your body, so that you are getting the proper nourishment that you need.
And I'd imagine exercise as well.
Of course, exercise is good for mood. It really helps to boost your energy level and makes you feel better. I feel much better when I've taken a good brisk walk than if I'm laying around being lazy.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rhona, for your insight. And if you are the first person to write in to live@lac.com, we'll give you an autographed copy of Dr. Rhona's book, Food Triggers, End Your Cravings, Eat Well, and Live Better. To connect with Dr. Rhona, go to foodtriggersbook.com, or you can go to harvest-tv.com and click on show info in the menu bar for a link to her project, Food Triggers, End Your Cravings. I'm going to do that starting today. Eat well and live better. And still to come, a little later, Randy Z is here to cook us.